Welcome, everyone, to a deep dive into novel treatments for brain tumors.
Sounds exciting.
We're going to be looking at a paper by John H. Rossmeisel called Novel Treatments for Brain Tumors. It highlights so many challenges and opportunities in this complex field. And luckily, I have an expert here to help us unpack it all.
Happy to be here. It is a really dynamic area of research.
It is. It is.
I mean, the blood-brain barrier, it's so crucial for protecting the brain.
Right.
But it's also a huge obstacle for getting those treatments where they need to be.
Yeah.
But there are some really cool approaches being developed
To overcome that challenge.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's just start with that. The blood-brain barrier.
Okay.
What exactly is it? And why is it such a problem for treating brain tumors?
Okay, so the blood-brain barrier, or BBB, is this really picky membrane. It separates the blood that's circulating from the brain and that extracellular fluid in the central nervous system.
Okay.
It's made up of endothelial cells, really tightly packed together. It forms this almost impenetrable barrier, and it's essential for keeping the environment around the brain stable. So it prevents harmful substances from getting in.
So it's kind of like a protective shield for the brain.
Exactly. But this shield also blocks a lot of therapies from reaching those brain tumors. That's one of the biggest problems in developing treatments.
Okay, so how are researchers trying to, overcome this? The paper talks about something called passive tumor targeting.
Yeah.
What's that about?
So passive tumor targeting, it uses this thing called the EPR effect.
Okay.
That's enhanced permeability and retention effect.
Okay.
Some tumors, because they grow so fast, and the blood vessels are all abnormal.
Right.
They have these leaky blood vessels.
Okay.
And these leaky vessels, they actually allow larger molecules, including nanoparticles, to get into the tumor more easily than in healthy tissue.
Oh, so they're kind of like exploiting a weakness in the tumor's defense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Researchers are designing nanoparticles that can actually sneak through those leaks and deliver the drugs right to the tumor.
That's fascinating. Are there examples of how this is being used?
Yeah, there are a bunch of examples.
Great.
One study used pegylated gold nanoparticles in dogs.
Okay.
And what they found was these particles, they built up inside the tumor, showing the EPR effect in action.
Cool.
Another study looked at using these polymeric nanoparticles to deliver temozolomide, which is a common chemo drug, to brain tumors.
So it's all about getting those treatments right to the tumor. So the healthy tissue is exposed as little as possible.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And there are even studies using nanomedical approaches to deliver radiation.
Wow.
Like yttrium-90 microspheres, they've been used in dogs with some promising results, but it shows how important it is to get that delivery really precise.
To avoid any side effects.
Exactly. They also used holmium-166 brachytherapy. That was actually successful in shrinking a pituitary tumor in a dog.
Wow. Okay, so it seems like these nanoparticles are a really promising way to deliver drugs.
Yes.
Now, what about active tumor targeting?
Okay.
How does that differ from this passive approach?
So active tumor targeting is more direct. So what it does, it designs treatments to target specific molecules that are found on the tumor cells.
Okay.
These molecules, we call them receptors.
Okay.
They act like these homing beacons, guiding the treatment straight to the tumor.
So it's like a guided missile system.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Okay.
So by targeting these specific receptors that are overexpressed in tumor cells, these treatments can deliver drugs or other therapeutic agents with way more precision.
So what kind of receptors are we talking about here?
So there are a few receptors being investigated, like EGFR, EPH, and IL-13RA2. And these receptors, they're often found in way higher amounts on tumor cells compared to healthy cells, making them really good targets for active targeting.
And are there clinical trials testing these active targeting treatments in dogs?
Yes, there are. So the paper describes this phase a trial in dogs with gliomas. And they used bacterial cytotoxins linked to IL-13RA2 and EPA2 receptors. And the results were promising.
That's great.
And there's another interesting approach they're using called quad-dog compounds.
Quad compounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're these multi-target agents. They attack gliomas on multiple fronts.
So they're hitting the tumor from different angles.
Exactly.
That's a really smart approach.
And they're showing a lot of promise in preclinical studies.
Okay, so this brings us to another really interesting area of research, and that's oncolytic viruses.
Oh, yeah, those are cool.
So what are they, and how do they work against cancer?
So oncolytic viruses, they're viruses that are modified to specifically infect and destroy tumor cells. But they leave the healthy cells alone. Basically, they hijack the machinery of the tumor cells. And then they use it to replicate and eventually cause the cell to burst.
So they infiltrate the tumor, cause chaos from within.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. And on top of that, some oncolytic viruses are being engineered to stimulate the immune system so it attacks the cancer too.
So it's like a double whammy.
Exactly.
That's incredible. What types of oncolytic viruses are being studied for brain tumors?
So there are a couple of really interesting examples. Studies using this wild-type Zika virus in dogs with brain tumors. They actually saw tumor reduction.
Zika. They're using Zika to fight cancer.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's wild.
And then there are also studies using engineered viruses. So they're modified to be even more precise and effective. One example is this RLAS-UPA. It's a modified Newcastle disease virus. Trials in dogs showed some promise, but we need more research to get over that hurdle of antiviral immunity.
So the body's own immune system could attack the virus.
Yeah, it could neutralize it before it can do its job.
Gotcha.
There's another one called D-Celiver. It's an oncolytic adenovirus delivered using mesenchymal stem cells as carriers.
We talked about that earlier, using stem cells as carriers.
It's really clever, right?
Yeah. What other engineered viruses did they mention?
There's also M032. It's a herpes simplex virus engineered to release interleukin-12, which is a powerful immune stimulant.
So this virus, it kills the tumor cells directly, but it also triggers the immune system to attack the cancer.
Exactly.
So we've talked about targeting the tumor directly, either through nanoparticles or oncolytic viruses. But the paper also mentions immunotherapy. What's the latest there?
Yeah, so immunotherapy, it's a really fast-moving field. But it's faced more challenges with brain tumors than with other cancers.
Is that because of the blood-brain barrier again?
The BBB definitely plays a role. But there are other complexities too. But researchers are starting to understand these issues, which is leading to new hope for immunotherapy in brain tumors.
That's encouraging. So what kind of immunotherapies are they looking into for brain tumors?
So one approach is targeting this thing called the CD200 immune checkpoint. A lot of tumors, including brain tumors, express CD200, which is basically like a don't attack me signal to the immune system.
Oh, wow.
So by blocking that signal, with a CD200 inhibitor, researchers hope to allow the immune system to finally attack the tumor.
So it's kind of like taking the brakes off the immune system.
Exactly.
So what did they find when they tried this approach?
Well, in one study, they used a CD200 inhibitor with a tumor lysate vaccine in dogs with gliomas.
A tumor lysate vaccine? What's that?
It's a vaccine made from the patient's own tumor cells.
Oh, yeah.
So they break down the cells, use them to create this vaccine, and it trains the immune system to recognize and attack those specific tumor cells.
So they're basically showing the immune system what the enemy looks like.
Yeah, exactly. And this combo therapy showed significant survival benefits.
Wow.
Compared to using the vaccine alone.
That's incredible. What other immunotherapies did they talk about?
So the paper also highlights research that's focusing on changing the tumor microenvironment. So that's the area around the tumor. A lot of tumors, they make this immunosuppressive environment that basically shields them from immune attack.
So they're protecting themselves.
Yeah, so researchers are figuring out how to disrupt that shield. Make the tumor more vulnerable to immunotherapy.
So it's like changing the battlefield to give the immune system the advantage.
Exactly.
So what are some of the ways they're modifying the tumor microenvironment?
One study used losartan and propranolol, which are common drugs for high blood pressure and heart conditions.
Oh, interesting.
And they use them to change that tumor microenvironment. They found that when these drugs were used with a cancer stem cell vaccine, the results were really promising.
Wow.
Another study focused on activating this protein called a STING, which is a big player in triggering immune responses. And they found that delivering a STING agonist, which activates a STING directly into brain tumors in dogs, shrunk those tumors significantly.
It sounds like immunotherapy for brain tumors is really gaining some traction.
It is.
So we've covered a lot here. Blood-brain barrier, passive and active targeting. oncolytic viruses,
Yes.
immunotherapy.
It's a lot to take in.
What are some key takeaways from all this research?
Well, I think the most important thing is brain tumor research is moving so fast.
Yeah.
Just a few years ago, a lot of these treatments, they were just theoretical, and now we're seeing these great results in clinical trials, both in dogs and humans.
It's really remarkable.
It is.
How fast science is moving.
It is.
So what about dogs? What role are they playing in all of this?
Dogs are playing a huge role in advancing our understanding of brain tumors. Okay. And in developing new treatments. Because there are a lot of similarities between certain canine brain tumors and human brain tumors. So researchers can test new therapies in dogs, gather really valuable data, and that data can be used to help human medicine.
So it's win-win, right?
It is.
Dogs benefit from these new treatments.
Yes.
And the knowledge we gain helps advance human brain tumor research.
Exactly. It shows how collaborative scientific research can be.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And this deep dive, it gives us this glimpse into the future of brain tumor treatment.
Right.
A future that's filled with so much hope and innovation.
Absolutely.
You know, there's still a lot to learn. There are still a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
But the progress is amazing.
It really is.
It really is.
And it's important to remember.
Yeah.
Behind all this research are these incredibly dedicated scientists working so hard to improve the lives of pets and people facing brain tumors.
Absolutely.
So before we wrap up this part of our dive, I have to ask, given all this research, what breakthroughs might we see in the next few years?
That's the burning question, right?
Yes.
I think we're going to see even more personalized therapies tailored to each patient's specific tumor.
Okay.
We'll also probably see advancements in immunotherapy and oncolytic virus therapies.
Okay.
And as we understand the brain's immune system more, we'll probably see even more effective immunotherapies.
That's exciting. I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Me too.
This has been really inspiring. Thanks for walking us through this.
You're very welcome.
All right, everyone, stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into brain tumor treatments, where we'll explore even more groundbreaking research and discuss the implications for the future of brain cancer care.
Looking forward to it. Picking up where we left off, you know, one of the most interesting things about this paper is how it focuses on those knowledge gaps that still exist in brain tumor biology.
Right, we talked about some of those challenges earlier, but what makes them so important?
Well, the paper points out that even though we've made a lot of progress in understanding the genetics and molecular makeup of brain tumors, there's still so much we don't know about how those genetic changes actually influence tumor behavior.
So just knowing the genetic code isn't enough to predict how the tumor will grow or respond to treatment.
Exactly. It's like having a blueprint, but not really understanding the construction process.
Okay.
And that's where those knowledge gaps, they pose these big challenges for researchers.
Can you give me an example of what are those knowledge gaps?
Yeah, sure. So the paper talks about how some high-grade gliomas, which are these really aggressive brain tumors, can actually integrate themselves into neural networks. So basically, the tumor cells connect with healthy neurons in the brain.
So the tumor cells are actually communicating with the brain's own circuitry.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. And it's a pretty recent discovery. And it's completely changed how we think about these tumors. They can actually form synapses, those connections between neurons with healthy neurons.
Wow. And by doing so, they can potentially hijack the brain's signaling pathways to basically help them grow.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the tumor is tapping into the brain's communication network and using it to spread and grow. And this is where the paper suggests a really interesting possibility, using drugs that were actually designed for neurological disorders to disrupt this process.
So drugs that are already being used to treat things like epilepsy could potentially be repurposed to fight brain tumors.
It's a really cool concept. The paper specifically talks about anticonvulsants, which work by changing the brain's signaling pathways to prevent seizures.
So if glioma cells are hijacking those same signaling pathways, could those anticonvulsant drugs interfere with that?
That's the hope. And it's a great example of how understanding how complex the brain is can lead to totally new approaches in treating cancer. It's like we're using the brain's own defense mechanisms against the tumor.
It's amazing how connected these different fields of medicine are. Okay, so we've talked about the knowledge gaps and the challenges they bring. But the paper also highlights the opportunities that exist in brain tumor research. It seems like drug delivery is one area that's ripe for innovation.
Absolutely. One of the biggest hurdles in treating brain tumors has always been getting those drugs past that blood-brain barrier.
Right.
But researchers are coming up with some pretty amazing methods to overcome that obstacle.
So what are some of the techniques that are being explored?
One technique that's showing a lot of promise is called convection-enhanced delivery, or CED.
Yeah.
It uses a small catheter implanted directly into the brain tissue to deliver drugs slowly and precisely to the tumor site.
So it's much more targeted than traditional IV delivery.
Exactly. CED allows for much higher drug concentrations right at the tumor site, while minimizing exposure to the healthy brain tissue.
And that reduces the risk of side effects.
Exactly. Another really exciting technique is focused ultrasound.
Okay.
This method uses these high-intensity sound waves to temporarily disrupt the BBB, creating these openings that let drugs into the brain.
It's like using sound waves to create temporary windows in the blood-brain barrier.
Exactly. And what's really amazing is that it can be targeted so precisely, sparing that healthy brain tissue. It's still pretty new, but the early results look good.
It sounds like science fiction, but it's amazing to think this could become a reality. We also talked about nanoparticles before, and it sounds like they're playing a big role in drug delivery as well.
Definitely. Nanoparticles are these tiny particles. They're designed to carry drugs or other therapies.
Right.
And they're small size. And unique properties make them perfect for delivering treatments to the brain.
We talked about how some nanoparticles take advantage of the EPR effect, those leaky blood vessels in tumors. But are there other ways they're being used?
Yeah, some nanoparticles are coated with these special molecules that allow them to cross the BBB. They can basically trick the barrier into letting them through.
So they have a key to unlock the barrier.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So how are nanoparticles being used to treat brain tumors?
Well, we talked about using them to deliver chemo drugs like temozolomide.
Right.
But they're also being used to deliver radiotherapeutics, basically delivering radiation right to the tumor.
That sounds a lot safer than traditional radiation, which can damage the surrounding healthy tissue.
Exactly. The paper mentions studies using yttrium-90 microspheres, these tiny little radioactive beads, delivered through the arteries that supply blood to the tumor. And this makes sure that the radiation is concentrated where it needs to be, minimizing that damage to healthy brain tissue.
It's incredible how far we've come.
Yeah.
In terms of targeted drug delivery, what's really exciting is that nanoparticles, they can be designed to carry not just drugs or radiation, but also genetic material like DNA or RNA.
Yeah, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities. Imagine delivering genes that can actually repair damaged cells or reprogram cancer cells.
That sounds like the future of medicine. This deep dive has been an incredible journey, exploring all the challenges and opportunities in brain tumor research. We've talked about the blood-brain barrier, the tumor microenvironment, and the advances in drug delivery. But there's still a lot more to discover, especially in the areas of oncolytic viruses and immunotherapy. In this part, we'll dive deeper into those cutting-edge treatments and talk about how they could change the way we fight brain cancer. Welcome back to our exploration of these cutting-edge brain tumor treatments.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
In this last part of our dive, we're focusing on two revolutionary approaches. Oncolytic viruses and immunotherapy.
Yeah, these are game changers.
They really are.
They're completely different from those traditional cancer treatments.
Yeah.
You know, they use the power of the body's own immune system to actually fight the disease.
We talked about them briefly before, but let's dig a little deeper.
Okay, sounds good.
So, oncolytic viruses, what makes them so unique?
Well, oncolytic viruses are these modified viruses, and they've been changed to specifically target and destroy tumor cells, but they leave healthy cells pretty much unharmed.
So they're kind of like little weapons that go in and destroy tumor cells from the inside?
Exactly. They invade the tumor cells, and then they use the cell's own machinery to replicate. And eventually, the cell bursts, releasing more viruses, and then those viruses can infect other tumor cells.
So it's like a chain reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty amazing.
And it gets even better. Some of these oncolytic viruses are actually being engineered to make the immune system attack the cancer even more.
So it's a two-pronged attack.
Yeah.
They directly destroy tumor cells, and they activate the immune system. That's really cool.
It is.
So the paper mentions some really fascinating examples of how they're using oncolytic viruses to treat brain tumors in jogs. One study used a modified Newcastle disease virus called RLA-UPAEP.
All right.
And it targets this specific system in the tumor cells.
Okay.
The results were promising.
Right.
But they also emphasized that more research is needed to overcome this challenge of antiviral immunity.
Yeah.
So the body's own immune system could actually neutralize the virus before it even has a chance to work.
That's right. That's one of the big hurdles.
Right.
Researchers are trying to figure out how to make these oncolytic viruses even more effective, maybe combining them with other therapies that can boost the immune response.
So it's like an arms race?
Yeah.
Between the virus and the immune system.
In a way, yeah.
Okay, so another interesting example from the paper is D-Celiver.
Okay.
It's an oncolytic adenovirus that uses mesenchymal stem cells to carry it to the tumor.
We talked about that earlier. It's really clever.
It is. It is.
They're like little Trojan horses delivering the virus right where it needs to go.
So these mesenchymal stem cells, they're naturally drawn to areas of injury or inflammation, which includes tumor sites.
Yeah.
So they're basically tricking these stem cells into delivering this cancer-killing virus.
Exactly. It's like turning the body's own repair mechanisms against the tumor.
That's a really neat idea.
It is.
So the paper also talks about M032.
Okay.
It's a modified herpes simplex virus.
Oh, wow.
That's engineered to release interleukin-12.
Okay.
Which is this powerful immune system stimulant.
So it's not just killing tumor cells directly. It's also calling in reinforcements.
Exactly. It's getting the immune system involved. That's really promising.
It is.
And they're testing this virus in combination with an immune checkpoint inhibitor.
Oh, interesting.
Called indoximab.
Okay.
Which brings us to our next topic. Immune checkpoint inhibitors.
Right.
They seem to be making a lot of progress in cancer treatment.
Yeah, they are.
How do they actually work?
Okay, so immune checkpoint inhibitors are a type of immunotherapy that basically removes the brakes from the immune system.
Okay.
So it can attack cancer cells much more aggressively.
Okay.
See, our immune system has these built-in tech points.
Okay.
They prevent it from overreacting and attacking healthy cells.
Right.
But those sneaky cancer cells, they can actually use these checkpoints to their advantage. So they're basically hiding from the immune system.
They're going incognito.
Exactly.
Okay.
But immune checkpoint inhibitors come in and they block those checkpoints.
Okay.
So now the cancer cells are exposed. Right.
And the immune system can attack with full force.
So it's like giving the immune system a boost so it can finally recognize and attack those hidden cancer cells.
Exactly. And these checkpoint inhibitors have been really successful in treating a bunch of different cancers.
Okay.
And now researchers are trying to see if they can work for brain tumors too.
Okay.
And this combo of M032, the oncolytic virus we talked about, and indoximab, the checkpoint inhibitor, it's looking pretty promising.
So the virus weakens the tumor, and then the checkpoint inhibitor lets the immune system come in and finish the job.
Yeah, that's the idea.
That's a cool strategy.
It is.
So the paper also mentions a study that combined a CD200 immune checkpoint inhibitor with a tumor lysate vaccine in dogs with gliomas.
Right.
Remind me, what is a tumor lysate vaccine again?
Sure. It's a vaccine made from the patient's own tumor cells.
Okay.
So they take those cells, break them down,
and use them to create a vaccine. And then that vaccine trains the immune system to recognize and attack those specific tumor cells.
So it's like showing the immune system a picture.
Yeah, like a mugshot of the enemy.
Gotcha. Okay.
And in this study, the combo of the vaccine and the CD200 checkpoint inhibitor led to some really big improvements in survival.
Wow. Compared to just the vaccine alone.
Yeah.
That's great. Are there any other immunotherapy approaches being tested for brain tumors?
Yeah, the paper talks about research focused on changing that tumor microenvironment.
Okay, so that's the area around the tumor, right?
And that environment, it often becomes immunosuppressive, which protects the tumor from the immune system.
So it's like a safe haven for the tumor.
Yeah, exactly. So researchers are looking for ways to break down those defenses and make the tumor more vulnerable to immunotherapy.
So they're making the tumor surroundings more welcoming for the immune cells.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what are some of the ways they're doing that?
Well, one study used losartan and propranolol.
Okay.
Those are common drugs for high blood pressure and heart conditions.
Right. We talked about those earlier.
And they found that when these drugs were used with a cancer stem cell vaccine, the results were really good.
That's awesome.
Another study focused on activating this protein called SING. which is a big deal in triggering immune responses.
Right.
They found that delivering a sting agonist directly into brain tumors in dogs actually shrunk the tumors.
That sounds like immunotherapy. Along with all these other new approaches, has a ton of potential for treating brain tumors.
Definitely.
We've covered so much in this deep dive.
We have.
Looking at all these different cutting-edge treatments for brain tumors. What stands out to you as the most promising areas for future research?
It's how all these different fields are coming together, like nanotechnology, virology, immunology.
It's like science fiction is becoming reality.
It is. Using nanoparticles to deliver targeted therapies. Engineering viruses to kill tumor cells. And then using the power of the immune system. It's amazing.
It's truly remarkable.
It is.
The progress we're seeing in brain tumor research.
It's exciting.
And the collaboration between veterinary and human medicine is really driving those advancements.
Absolutely. We're all working together.
This deep dive has been incredibly inspiring.
It has been.
Seeing the dedication and ingenuity of these researchers working so hard to find new treatments for both animals and humans.
It's inspiring work.
It is. It is.
It's a tough field. But the potential rewards are huge.
They are. They are.
It's about making a real difference in people's lives.
So before we wrap up,
I
have one last question.
All right, shoot.
Given how fast this field is moving, what breakthroughs do you think we'll see in the next few years?
That's the crux of the matter, isn't it?
It is.
I think we're going to see even more personalized therapies tailored to each patient specific tumor. We'll probably see advancements in immunotherapy. And oncolytic virus therapies. And as we learn more about the brain's immune system, I think we'll see some even more effective immunotherapies.
That's exciting. I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Me too. It's a really hopeful time.
It is.
For brain tumor research.
This deep dive has given us this glimpse into a future.
Where
brain tumors are no longer this unbeatable enemy. It's a future filled with hope. And the promise of better treatments.
Absolutely.
That are more effective and less invasive.
It's an exciting time.
It is. From Vet Neuro Jar. Keep those minds inspired, hearts light, and tails wagging.